Yo, 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 it's your boy B, aka Coach B. For those of you that are new to Pi Talk, let me give you a little bit of history about it. I am the founder and co creator with Priscilla Zhao. So, me personally, I come from a long history of judicial entanglements from the time I was 12 until just very recently. I've been entangled in the consequences of doing criminal things. And I changed my life around. And so now I sit here as a DBHR approved state trainer for certified peers, a recovery coach, professional, and life coach. I can also facilitate all of the curriculum for CCAR. And the story behind Pi Talk, is that Pi is an acronym for Pursue Internal Evolution because we believe and our philosophy is based around the concept that you are the warden to any and all prisons you will ever find yourself. Everything that you seek externally, you can find internally. And we developed the blueprint. And so Pi was kind of jokingly or anecdote to the people who like to share in tea, right? You got the tea, that means you got the negative, you got the gossip, you got all these different things. And so we're like, well, we should do Pi, which is like the opposite of T. We only talk about positive things. We only talk about ways to uplift people, to hold the hope. And a lot of that comes from just my personal story, which we'll get into. So Priscilla and I started this journey on a day one type of philosophy. And Priscilla's about to have a baby, like any day, any week. And we wanted to keep content moving. We had a discussion about it. We put out some feelers into the universe and asked anybody if they would like to co host and participate in this positive information that we love to share. So, the pursuit of internal evolution is why it is called Pi Talk. And so, we like to talk about the things that will help you become the best version of yourself, regardless what they are. And so, that being said, we've had a couple of interested parties and only one so far has come through with the desire to participate and be a temporary co-host, potentially just a second co-host. And the energy is what we're about to investigate today on this kind of audition episode, introducing Amanda Keshner. And so, without further ado, I'm gonna bring her in. You guys are gonna watch kind of live audition slash interview. We're gonna talk about all things pie, all things positive, and I'm gonna introduce you to potentially a new voice on the show. Why you for Pie Talk podcast?
Good question. I really appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate your vulnerability and opening up about your past and how you have taken your past experiences, your lived experiences, and have turned them into what I would call magic. I think this is a form of magic. I think this is a form of medicine. I think that what you're doing here speaks power. Um, you're not just holding space for hard conversations.
Mm-hmm.
You're diving into deep topics that, if discussed in a vulnerable and open way, could actually shift perspective and consciousness on a mass level.
Okay.
So you are making a huge difference in the world. And I'm one of those people who I'm a go big and go home kind of person. And if I'm going to make a difference and I'm going to be of support, I want to be doing it with people who are like minded, people who share the same values and principles of just because you did something bad doesn't mean you're a terrible person forever.
Okay. So last question, and then I'll leave it to the viewers. I want you to put in the comments like, are you feeling Amanda's Ketchner? Are you feeling? Do you want to see more on the Pie Talk podcast as a regular co-host? Right. So the other question is, what do you want to bring to Pie Talk? And the reason why I ask is because when we did kind of preliminary talk about things, you've had so many podcast invites and people telling you to do your own. Like, I'm honored, but I'm also always cautious. Why ours? Why
Great
this one?
question.
Why would you want to make this yours?
Really, really, really great question. Um, so I've been asked to do a lot of things through the years, and I am really in touch with my intuition. And most of the time, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel in alignment with my soul. It's more like you mentioned it earlier. It's a job, you're showing up, you have to do it versus you want to do it. I enjoy having conversations like this on a regular all day, every day. So when you're like, we do it as a podcast once a week, I'm like, oh wow, I enjoy doing this for fun. I can just sit here and talk to you for hours about all of this stuff. And then when you mentioned the four agreements and all of that and the law of attraction, and I was like, wait, that's my life. That's literally what I geek about all day, every day by myself, and I have nobody to talk to about it. Why wouldn't we just talk about all these things together, inspire more people, bring awareness to all these topics, and make people feel more relatable? Make people know that, like, it's okay to talk about taboo, weird, out of the ordinary, hard, vulnerable things. It's okay to.
But all those labels and stigmas are subjective anyway.
Exactly.
Is it
Exactly.
taboo? You know,
It's not.
according to who?
Exactly. And I
By
love
whose
that.
authority? We have an episode named that.
That is a good one. So that's why I want to be here. I appreciate your energy. I appreciate what you're putting out. I really appreciate Priscilla's energy too. I did watch some previous Pie Talks, and when I was watching her energy, I was like, ooh, she's like soul fam energy. Like, that feels familiar. And you felt that way too. I mean,
Yeah,
the
yeah. It's
irony is we are both from the same hometown, which is just bizarre and ironic. But that also, I think that was probably your winning factor. When, like, knowing that someone culturally will get me, not just I could talk and geek out about stuff I love all day, every day with everybody.
yeah, for
But
sure.
when people understand you a little bit different because they understand your culture, and then when people aren't judging you,
Yeah,
then you could truly just tap into that authentic expression and
yeah,
be yourself. And that's why I want to be here. That's why I want to be a support, show up, and I'm excited to hear all the different topics, and I'm
yeah.
excited to hear all the things that we can bring.
I like both your answers. And full disclosure, like for some of you that don't know, like for me, this is a passion. This is something that I formulated and molded, and Priscilla and I were able to use that alchemy and like really make it work. We started, 10 episodes that we called pilot episodes, and then we just finished a 25 episode first season, and like I still listen to myself in those. But the thing that I was getting at is when it comes to this, right? I allocate a lot of my currency towards this. Um, I'm a giver. I have a big heart, but this also conflicts with sometimes family stuff. So it's like if I'm going to be all in, I need the other person to be all in because we're not getting paid, you know, and we potentially could be very soon with the monetization of YouTube and all the different things, right? But when that reward comes, it should be somebody who wanted it when there wasn't a reward attached, other than the natural flow and the value that we get to put out and the messages we get back for like, I really like that. It really helped me see something. Like I get those messages all the day, and not everybody is okay with putting a high value on how people feel about something you put out to the world because we're being vulnerable. We don't know if anyone's gonna like this shit or not. You
We're
know
just
what I
being
mean? We're
ourselves.
just we're putting what we believe in and what we feel is right. So having somebody committed for me as like somebody who's doing the hiring process or the auditioning
Mm-hmm.
kind of lens, that's where I'm at with it. Like, is it gonna be like, are we gonna be able to meet up, do the thing, you know, and keep it consistent and really want to and not treat it like it's something like you have to do or you feel like, oh, I don't want to go do this thing. It's like for me, this is self care. I look forward to these conversations, doing the podcast. I enjoy making the edits. I enjoy piecing it together. Like everything you see is a one stop shop. I don't have funds for a producer or this or that. I learned this shit on my phone. I learned the app that I use through my other partner. Shout out to Gutta Main with the Serving It Raw podcast. He kind of gave me the setup and the setup. Even the lavalier mics and the app that I use to do all these things on my own time. Sometimes in conflict with people wanting my time that I love and care about. Right, so it's more at stake for me than just doing a thing. It's not like a fad or it's genuine, it's authentic, and the pursuit of my internal evolution. I am proof. When you put my freedom into perspective, I was sentenced in 2021. I was due to get out in June of 2025. And I am November 18th, 2024, off of my sentenced 4 year probation. So by taking accountability for my past, my present, and my future, I was able to take 5 years back from the system that I was in conflict with my entire life. And they agreed that I deserved it back when that judge signed that order to terminate my probation and set me free to do what I love doing, which is give back to the community I so callously contributed negative. I took away from it, right? But that experience as a whole is why I'm here today, is why you see the things you see on my platform, and why potentially Amanda and I are going to share this space and allow Priscilla that time to give birth and heal and enjoy her new life. And this seat will always be hers. And so I'd like to see them two sitting
I was just
next
thinking
to.
that I was just gonna say like I didn't want to take her seat. I love her
No,
energy.
we
I
want
love
to
what she
add
does.
you
But I
to
would
the
love to jump in
rotation.
your conversations.
Yes, I think having three as a total number, to where sometimes it's you and her, sometimes it's me and her, sometimes it's me and you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then we get into the guest situation. Like for the most part, it's just been us doing our thing, sharing the energy that we have and the excitement that we have for our own, successes in the pursuit of our internal evolution. And just, I'm not gonna say welcome, but I wish you luck.
Thanks.
If you guys like Amanda for the job, comment, like, subscribe. She's going to share this everywhere. I'm sure her platform is quite large. And we'll talk more about Amanda on the next episode.
Well, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And thanks for having me, everyone. Can't wait to hear your thoughts about me in the comments.
And we're back with another episode of Pie Talk.
Pie Talk is pursuing internal evolution.
All right, check it out. Check it out. Check it out. This is our interim preseason, potentially season 2, with a temporary co-host of Pie Talk podcast. This is the first time I've ever been on this side of like an audition process. So you're about to see like audition slash interview for a job slash live in real time. This is what it is.
I'm here for it.
So one of the first things we do typically when we start the show is the quote. We come up with a quote. You had a quote. Don't say who it is. Just what's the quote?
We're all just walking each other home.
All right. All right. And then we talk about what it is. This is Pie Talk, the pursuit of internal evolution, where we just hold space and we share in ideas all across the spectrum of how to become the best version of yourself, how we navigate this thing we call life, and how we do it in a way that causes the least amount of harm with our interactions and with how we interact with our energy, with others, with ourselves specifically, and more importantly, healed people hold people up and support people. And we all know hurt people hurt people. So our goal is to provide enough tools and incentive and encouragement for people to start thinking about how they can heal themselves without relying so much on external factors and entities. And so I put out feelers. Priscilla's about to have a baby soon, and we had one of our original kind of first takers that was very interested in the idea of co-hosting on this podcast and talking these wonderful concepts. Introduce yourself. Tell us all about you in as little time as you can. I'm kidding.
I'm Amanda Marie, and I am an intuitive holistic health practitioner. and I do shamanic Reiki as well as support people on their individual recovery and wellness goals. I create one on one wellness plans that are specific to the person and based off their goals and what are their intentions, what are they trying to accomplish. Creating smart goals of CPC training is important, but making sure that the person is fully involved and we're looking at the person from a holistic perspective, which we do a lot of in certified peer counseling work, where we're
Mhm.
looking at the whole person. We're looking at their mind, their body, their soul, their factors from when they were a kid, their behavioral traits, what their ambitions are, what are their goals. We're listening to them, and then we're creating a unique experience based off their goals, their intentions, what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy. They don't like doing something, we're not doing that with them. And just being there, being of support for them. I also work with people who are in their integration stages of their journey, whether or not that is working with psychedelics for therapy purposes, psychedelic assisted therapies, or just integrating life, integrating grief, integrating divorce, integrating having a baby, whatever it may be. And I also work with people in developing their psychic abilities and feeling more empowered and confident in owning their intuitive gifts, owning who they are, and being here, being now, and being of service to others with that.
Okay, okay. I like it. So, one of the things we like to start with is big wins. So, typically we're talking like last 7 days. What's something that you could really say has been a big win for you in the last 7 days or so?
Good question. In the last 7 days or so, I've had a couple big wins. Um, I got to see Nako play live, and their music has hit home for me on my healing and recovery journey. And I just saw
Okay.
them after 5 years. And then the next day, I got my inspection approved for my first ever office, and it's a big win for me. I've never put myself out there. My background is in science and sociology, and I just have been everybody else's cheerleader and cheering everybody else on for years. And I want to do that, but I want to do that with an office space. I want to do that where I could help people truly dive into the work that they want to do. So I'm really excited for this new journey.
Absolutely. Um, Big wins for me also kind of goes in alignment with the title of this audition episode is so for the first time in 28 years I am multi-leveled free. And so the title of the episode, the topic we're going to get into is levels of freedom, right? What that looks like from the pursuit of internal evolution lens. Like, how do we talk about levels of freedom? And so, yeah, I received a court document the other day, 3 years early. I might tell you that I am probation has terminated my term. So I'm free. You know, my entire life since 12 years old, I was stuck in a prison first of a narrative that this is the way things are. This is who I am. I'm a thug and I'm going to do these things and get all these accolades in the streets. And so that kept me on a perpetual journey through the revolving doors of the judicial system, right? These judicial entanglements have been chains around me that I willingly put on and I wore them as if they were necklaces or something of value. And this is the first time since 12 years old that I haven't had to look over my shoulder or look to somebody for permission or um, worry about if a thing I'm about to do is going to need to be forgiven and hopefully not end up in a incarceration situation because of a probation or being on bail and not allowed to go out the state, but I was going anyway. Like all these different things that I navigated through my life. And it wasn't until a couple years before my release that I found the first level of true freedom, and I have never let it go. So, that's the most damn, I can't even say it's the most biggest win because where there's freedom and there's life, life tips the scale because what happened this morning is my daughter gave birth to a second grandson
That's a huge
with
win.
just her. I have other grandkids with my other daughter, right? But she gave birth today to a healthy boy with a beautiful name. I won't share it because I don't have her permission yet, and she probably doesn't know I'm podcasting yet. But yeah, so in the middle of a CPC training today, she actually FaceTimed me in the smallest window that she could where I could answer because I was doing a training and
Divine
the
timing.
yeah the break was 10 to 10:10. She FaceTimed me at 9:59
Oh, wow.
so that I could see the baby.
Oh, that's so
Right. So I
exciting.
spent my break, you
You got a
know.
reward. So it sounds like not only are you getting freedom, but you're getting this new experience, this new chapter to experience freedom as a grandfather to this child.
Yeah,
You're
it's
able to be there fully. You have no limitations now. You could go travel wherever you want with this kid, and that's incredible. That's really cool.
yeah, it's when you think about the different levels of freedom, like in your personal journey, right? What does that look like for you? How did you navigate to get to where you are today?
It was hard. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, you know that. You've been through some stuff. I think the hard stuff that we go through, though, makes us more resilient. It makes us stronger. I don't love the phrase, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I don't love that one.
Yeah.
It builds a lot of resiliency, it builds a lot of hypervigilancy. But for me, freedom is something that I too am kind of just coming into for the first time in my life. I'm too for finally feeling free to express, free to be seen, free to be heard, free to dance. I've I get in trouble a lot for advocating. I get in trouble a lot for fighting against the injustices. Let's just say my degree is in forensics and investigative sciences, and I never used it because I decided I did not want to go work for a corrupt justice system. So instead, I wanted to help people and I wanted to be of service to people. And through that, I was able to see what lack of freedom meant for people. And on the whole spectrum, the whole human spectrum, from incarceration and probation to never speaking about something that they went through as a child. You know,
Mm-hmm.
what, like you said it really well, we're always seeking these things, but we are really the gatekeeper to our own prison. And when we truly could step into our own power, whatever that looks like, and we can step into using our own gifts and using our own talents and screaming on the top of your lungs, I'm free, even.
Yeah.
We're truly stepping into the core of who we are, the essence of who we are, our soul of who we are. All those terrible things that happened to you that you lived through. A great quote, I really love this one and it's really helped through my journey is life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And all that shit that you've
First time I
been
heard that
through,
one.
all that crap you've been through got
I'm
you
taking notes.
here to this moment. And you're able to experience this feeling of freedom and be here on Pi Talk. You created Pi Talk because of what you've been through since you're 12. You've been, you
Pretty
took,
much.
you took something negative and you turned it into a positive. You're an alchemist.
Well. I have an and for that. When I think in terms of positive and negative, I think in terms of mathematical because numbers, for as long as we can remember or have been told in history, is really the incontrovertible language across the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
It's mathematics. So if I can think in terms of math, and I've said this many a times on my platform, negative is a takeaway, it's a minus,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where positive is adding. You're adding things. It's a positive outcome, positive outlook, whatever. But when I'm thinking in terms of like, was what I went through a negative turned to a positive, or was it adding to what today turned
That's good
out to be the
perspective.
whole time?
Mm-hmm. That's good
Because
perspective.
because if I'm looking at actual value in my life, when I look at currency as the USD that really governs how all of our transactional experience is in life.
Mm-hmm.
The currency is our energy and our
Yep.
experiences, our memories, and the filter that we look at the world through. That's our real currency because that's what determines how we interact, get, or give from the world
Law of
itself, from
attraction.
others, all these different things, right? And so it always makes me think like, as soon as we decide to add to not only our own experience, but also the experience of people that come in interaction with me, I want them to walk away feeling like some kind of way they felt richer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, metaphorically, like somebody just walked up and I handed them $20.
Yep.
And when they walked away, they're like, I don't know why you did it, but I'll take it, right? Especially now. And so we need more of that than anything, especially like right now with everything that's just happening, worldview.
We
You
need more
know,
hope dealers, it sounds like.
we need more hope dealers. And when I thought of levels of freedom, the first level that I think of is the internal, right? The narrative you tell yourself, the narrative you let others tell about you,
Yep.
because it's our agreements that allow these narratives to become reality.
Mm-hmm.
We manifest somebody else's narrative into our reality by our own agreements. Soon as you disagree, that's coming from your body. When you disagree and it's a feeling, that person isn't going to be able to create anything for you. They're not going to tell you that you're this, because if you don't agree with it, it's like when a little kid throws a tantrum and calls you stupid monkey butt. You're not going to internalize that. That's going to be amusing to you because you're in such a good space and you're so far removed from being able to take that thing personal. That's how you have to look at the first layer of freedom, is when you're able to really not take things personal and then become the author of whatever your next page looks like. That's the first level of true freedom. The
Mm-hmm.
second level, and this is for me, was the physical release from a external prison,
Mm-hmm.
because I did set myself free while I was still there. But then I had a release date where I was able to move into a halfway house, get an ankle monitoring, right? So then I freed me internally. The system freed me physically, right? But then
Mm-hmm.
there's still the metaphoric chains, the ankle monitor, and then which goes into a term of 4 years of probation. So these are the insidious chains that you don't see because they're pervasive in ways that you don't realize. And the reason why I can speak this is because I'm 48 hours in to having these chains lifted off me. And until that happened, I didn't know how heavy they actually were.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how much stress was in my physical body weighing me down because I was operating. I mean, you've seen me on social media, you've seen, the things I do in the community. But when I actually processed that freedom, like what it meant as a whole, like what it really meant, I felt like I lost 10 pounds.
Hmm.
I slept that first night like I haven't slept in months
I could relate to that.
without waking up
Mm-hmm.
with a neck kink. My body has been so tightly wound
In fight or
and
flight.
and protecting this, being in a space where in my mind I can't fail or I'm done. I can't make a mistake. I can't slip or fall or not perform at my utmost at all times because I'm in a space that feels borrowed, that feels like I'm being allowed to with these conditions. As I talked about before, love can be unconditional, but all relationships are transactional agreements and contracts. All relationships are transactional because when you're giving somebody your positive energy, if they don't do what you like, then you take away from them. You start acting negative. You give them negative energy. So, in order for all relationships to move, those agreements have to constantly be upheld. And that's with the workplace, with relationships, with friendships, with siblings,
Mm-hmm.
with like all the different things. So, that being said, what do you kind of like picture in your mind about your different levels of freedom? Because I don't know if you have. I never asked you. Have you been incarcerated before?
No, I have not, but
Okay.
I have been in the mental health system. Um, I like to call myself a frequent flyer 5 times, and all of those times were because I was self advocating actually, speaking on behalf of an injustice, trying to report an injustice, and instead I was silenced. I was locked up. I was drugged and held against my will, which perpetuates more trauma, as you know, not having your story heard
Mm-hmm.
and not being seen. And I really relate to what you were saying, especially the first level. and the level of it being like in your mind and truly freeing yourself, and the narratives that other people create. And when you don't identify with those narratives and you don't feed in that energy into those narratives, it's not true. It's just something that somebody else created. And I
Hmm.
really, I really relate to what you said, because I can relate to that. Most of my life, I have been severely bullied for being different, for expressing too much, for dancing too much, for not doing the homework assignment the way that they want it. You name it, I like to challenge it. And that adds that became my own mental prison, where
Mm.
I've decided that I can't express authentic, or part of my brand is authentic expression.
Hmm.
And from all the backlash of all these people, I created my own prison in my own internal body, in my own mind, where I thought that, well, everybody else is expressing and they're just doing fine. I shouldn't do that. Maybe I shouldn't sing in public. Maybe I shouldn't dance in public. And I've created this own mental mind and created all these fears. Actually, just came from therapy and just processed a lot of stuff in therapy about these internalized fears that I had as a child from
So
witnessing things.
I want to pause there because
Yeah.
I don't want to glaze over that fact, right? You're in therapy.
Mm-hmm.
You provide holistic healing and hope and hold spaces for people.
Yep.
But therapy is your self care,
Yep.
right? That's you're empowering yourself to go to a place, because I think a lot of people fail to realize that people in our field burn out so
Yeah.
often, because when you pour in, people forget that they're pouring out. They
Mm-hmm.
just it just doesn't cross your mind when you're that empath, that philanthropic hearted person, and you just want to help everybody, but you don't see some of those invisible insidious chains on your heart when people aren't reciprocating,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, it doesn't bother me because I must still just do it. But then there's times where you really do need help and maybe even express it, and that energy isn't reciprocating.
Yep.
The thing is, we have to meet people where they are.
Mm-hmm.
You're helping somebody probably because they aren't in a place where, or just a place in their journey where they can or are willing to help someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So them not helping you, instead of taking it personal, we go and get help,
Yep.
right? From somebody that needs to pour into us, or that
Yep.
we can pour out of the all the things we absorb vicarious trauma, being a frontline direct services provider where we're having heartfelt conversations. We say it all the time. It's not just hard work, it's heart work, right? And this is one of those fields where how smart you are is not as important as your emotional intelligence,
That's what I was gonna
because a
say.
lot of the time we're feeling our way through these interaction, these life coach sessions, these anger management sessions, where we're taking and filtering a lot of negative energy, where we're moving it from them and giving them something in exchange, which is more than. So
Mm-hmm.
we're the positive space, and we are able to absorb and hopefully, like stomach acid, eat that, just eat that. You know what I
Or be an
mean?
alchemist. That's what alchemy
Or
is.
turn it into something. But also, the pursuit of internal evolution is getting to that point where you're like, no, I need some help,
Mm-hmm.
and being okay with going and getting some, while
I had to hit rock
also,
bottom before I realized how much help I needed. I needed to hit it, and I hit it pretty hard. And when I decided to get help, I was actually just processing in therapy. I needed to be 3,000 miles away from home to be able to sit with life and to sit with all the things and to understand that, like, integration happens with everything. And
yeah.
having the right support with people who have the capacity, like you're saying, to fill your cup and not be overfilled, to hold support for what you're going through. That's why I love peer support so much, because we're able to utilize our lived experience and we're experts in the stuff that we lived through, that we've been through. And we're
Hmm.
able to utilize all that we've been through, the positives, the negatives, the in betweens, the full spectrum, to be able to show up for whoever needs support by using what we've been through to be the light at the other end of the tunnel, to let them know that there is hope, to let them know that hope and recovery is possible for everyone. When I learned that quote in training, I was just like, wow, that includes all of the narcissistic people. That includes the people who we thought that there was no hope for. It is possible. It just takes people like yourself, people like me, who are willing to put themselves out there and being like, hey, I fucked up once upon a time ago, and I'm doing the work to be a better human being. And I want to be of support for you on your journey whenever you're ready to make that decision.
Yeah, it's like I did some things, I learned some things, I gained some wisdom, you know, and for me, like I talk about levels of freedom, I think there's like levels and then not sub levels of intelligence, but the basic three, my three foundation is like, okay, when somebody's smart, they can read some information, memorize it, hold it long enough to maybe take a test and get a really good grade, right? That's a smart person.
Yeah.
We call it, you know, book smart, whatever.
Yeah.
And this isn't something to just take and run with. This is like how my brain thinks about things. And so when I put out that pie book, you know, these are the concepts that you will see me break down even further. So then I think the next level of intelligence is intelligence, right? Now, if someone's intelligent, I believe the next stage of the basic three foundational stages of intelligence is retention. The same person that can take those things they learned and memorized for a short period can still have those same test results 6 months or a year down the road or whatever, or for good, right? So then you're the next level of, okay, now you're smart, but are you intelligent? Are you retaining the information that you got?
And are you practicing what you preach?
Right? And are you using it? So so for me, that was my next thing. It's two things. It's retention and application.
Yep.
That's how I believe. Now, the third level, and this is foundational, there's a lot of in-betweens. There's a lot of sub stuff and side stuff like emotional intelligence and empathy and things of that nature. But the third level is wisdom, right? So it's like, okay, you can learn a thing and you can recite it. You have a really good memory. Okay, oh, you retain this and you can apply it. Oh, so you comprehend it. So intelligence is, you know, retention, application, comprehension. And then now when you become wise, that is where you have learned and gained certain levels of emotional intelligence, but also you can not only now remember, retain, apply, and comprehend, but disseminate. So a wise person, those are just the three basic levels that I think about these things, because I like things in threes. It's really easy for me to wrap my mind around
I like things in threes too.
right? So the wisdom part is you know a thing, you understand a thing, and you can apply a thing, but now when you're wise, you can teach the thing. You can disseminate the information in a way that somebody can receive it and learn it. So a wise person is able to share their knowledge, to share their experience. So I believe, like you're talking about, all peers are wise. And anyone that thinks about using their own lived experience as the thing that they've mastered, that is, you have a PhD in your life. Nobody can take that from you. Now, if you turn that into a skill and a journey where you're showing people how you navigated similar things that they also are currently navigating, then you're a wise person, because you obviously memorize all the things that happen in your life. And now you know how to apply what happened in your life. You've retained the lessons and you're able to apply those lessons. And then when you get into that wisdom phase, now you're able to support somebody else and disseminate the information that those lessons taught you. And that is, again, that all ties into culture. That's how we learn things, is passing on the knowledge, understanding that everything that we think we need from somewhere else, we already have in us. You know, we read books and say, oh, where'd you read that? You look things up and it's like, okay, your argument is a book. Who was the first author? Think about that. Somebody had to
inspire somebody else to inspire them to
exactly. You can write a book. You can be an author. Just write a book, and then somebody will be quoting you as the authority on the thing because you put words in a book.
And I
Your
want
thoughts are just as valuable as the next
to, yeah,
person's.
I want to actually touch on some of like what you're saying and like the wisdom and all of that, and applying and taking it all into practice, because there is a little shift between that intelligence and between even having emotional intelligence and making that shift into wisdom. And it's really subtle. You almost like don't notice it. I feel like on this stage of my journey, that's kind of where I'm at. And when I was preparing for today and this morning, and I was thinking about you and I was excited, I shared a story this morning on my social media, and I shared it really well. And I was just like, wow, Coach B would see me so proud. I'm sharing the message and not the mess. And in that minute was when my brain went, and that's wisdom. So to circle what you're saying, that was like this morning, I had this big aha of like, wow, I'm going to go do this podcast with somebody else who has been in this field that I'm getting into for longer than I have been through all of this stuff. And whereas I've been holding support for people for years, I didn't realize how many people don't have the capacity for some of my stories, for how I share, for sometimes getting into the details. And through CPC training, certified peer counseling training, I learned how to appropriately share that message, where that's when you start to put into practice what you learn. And that's when you start to discern, like, okay, I could share it in this way with this person. And
Yeah.
that's when you start using that wisdom and you start tapping into that intellect and you start tapping into that emotional intelligence of like, okay, well, this person is a sensitive person. Maybe they're not the right person to hear this version of the story.
Yeah.
Maybe I should deliver it this way.
And think about this also. We're in a society of hurt people hurting people, which leads to this energy and this way that we are, right? You're wise and you decided that you were wise and you agreed that, you know what, I'm using my wisdom. Now, our society is in such upside down shambles that if you were to go around calling yourself wise and saying you're great at things and good at what you do, somehow that becomes a negative. That
Yep.
becomes this person is narcissistic or full of
Yeah.
themselves or cocky. And it's like the double standard, weird little conundrum of, especially like being a man. I'm not in the field. I'm married. I'm happily married. But I remember thinking like when I wasn't, and you start thinking of the pressures as a man, it's like, oh, a woman, they have all these things, right? It's like a woman wants somebody who's confident. They want this. But then if you come with that, like you don't know the barrier or the benchmark of like when does it go from confident to he's a
Cocky.
tool,
Yeah.
right?
You're a bro now.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. Oh, never mind. This guy's a tool. Like, so it's like, when do we get to give ourselves permission to praise ourselves, to own the things that we know we're good at? There's some times where I'm in the training and I like feel like I'm in pocket. Like I know I'm doing well. I know the presentation is going well, and it's like my first reaction from my 40 years on this earth, the conditioning is still, why do I feel shame for that?
That's because we live, unfortunately, in a
Why?
culture
Why?
that doesn't preach authenticity. And that's something that I've really worked really
Mm,
hard on my brand. Is if we all tapped into our authentic expression and lived life through our soul's calling, then we wouldn't feel ashamed to be talented, to be gifted, to be intelligent. We wouldn't be feel ashamed to be sensitive. I'm just stepping into my psychic and sensitive
I
gifts.
mean, yeah. Think about how when I say upside down, like how many of you have actually thought about it? When you have a conversation, even with somebody new, right? They can give you all the tea in the world. But if they say like three or more things about themselves doing something well, the energy shifts. The person starts looking at them like, oh, they're just talking about themselves and
Mm-hmm.
bragging and da da da, right? And then the person sharing will receive that energy and start feeling shame.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I said too much. I said too much. Oh well, man, when I was young, my dad used to beat the shit out of me. Then it's like, oh, okay, that's better.
Yeah.
That that's more. Yeah, share all that shit all day, right? How you got
Yeah.
broke up with, or your girlfriend cheated on you. Oh yeah. We could talk about that all day.
It's funny you say that, because when I first started like sharing my vulnerable journey and my authentic journey, I would share trauma stories, like stories of when I
Yeah.
was younger, shit that happened, lessons I learned, positive takeaways and stuff like that. And people loved it. People ate that alive. But the second I owned, like you're saying, who I am, my intelligence, my confidence, the moment I said, well, I'm intelligent. Like I have a multifaceted science degree. That was it. Everyone ate that up as like you're saying, she's narcissistic. She's this and she's that. It took me 30 years to be proud of being intelligent, intuitive, and gifted because of exactly what you're saying. I've had trauma since I'm 3. Oh, people love hearing trauma stories and spilling the tea for days. But the second you're like, oh, I accomplished this great thing. Oh, my vision was to buy land and I bought land. They're like, oh, you're cocky.
Listen, I do social experiments all the time,
Me too. They're
and
fun.
it's not even like, it's like for my own curiosity, right? I'll post like a certificate of something I achieved and get like 50 likes. I'll put a post on there and say, what does it mean when a woman calls her dude bitch, punk, or whatever and stays with him? 142 comments, all the different reactions. Like everybody wants to talk about judging this person, this imaginary person.
Yep.
And that's a real post on my Facebook right now, right? And then it's like, you know, I got free from probation. Like, lot of actual genuine love and appreciation and congratulations, like across the board. And I actually am blessed in that my social media, I don't really see trolling or like
You are
people don't
blessed.
post negative like things on it. But it's like at the end of the day, I lead with the darkest parts of my life, because that's what makes what I do impactful, and I know that, and I can say that I'm good at using my past life to inspire and encourage. It gives me passion. It gives me fuel. We wanted to keep Pi Talk going. Priscilla feels the same way about the energy shared in these spaces. We have people that are committed to listening to Pi Talk, people that do runs on Pi Talk in my inbox. Hey, what's up? And I'm like, yo, like, we got to honor our self care and our families first. It's tatted. Priscilla's having a baby. I would never pressure anybody in that space to be like, hey, bro, we're going to keep doing this podcast. Like, we talked, we decided, you know what I mean? Like, we both love what we do. We both stand by it. We're both recovery coaches. And, even though I'm a trainer and a mentor and have taken more trainings, we do the same thing for people and for our community. And so, like, when we came together, this was like, this is what we wanted to keep doing. There's no monetary attachment to doing this. This is on my time. And here you are. This is your time. I didn't pay her to come be on the show. That's not what this is. And that's why when I put it out there, it's like, hey, who's interested in being a part of something that is nonprofit? Like, really, there's no profit attached to Pi Talk. Even when we have the merch, not a lot of times there's no like money made because I use someone else to print it, and I'm letting people order their t-shirts through me, but really I'm just paying the guy for your shirts.
I'm going to pause you and circle back to something you said earlier. There might not be any monetary exchange, but remember,
Yeah.
US dollar and energy is just the exchange in itself. So something like this, when we talked about this and you entertained the idea, I was like, oh my God, yes, I've been calling it a podcast for such a long time.
Yeah.
And to be in a situation, in an environment, in a container like this, where we are using the 4 agreements as a foundation, that hit home for me. That was the first book that, to answer your freedom question again, that was the first book that made me understand what does freedom look like.
Yeah.
Like, what does freedom look like? What we created in our own head. That was the first book that I read when I first got to this state and started really diving into my journey. It was the first book that helped me even understand what forgiveness with my parents could look like. That, not to take things personally. You've quoted that so many times. It's so true, because go back to the quote I quoted in the beginning, we're all just walking each other home. And when you don't take things personally and you acknowledge we're all on a journey, we're all in different stages of our journey. Mm-hmm. If we just show up for support and you leave the judgment part out and you're just there in that present moment, all you're literally doing is walking someone home.
The other thing about that, when I love that quote and I love where it takes my mind. is because you talk about the journey and you talk about we're all just walking each other home, right? The problem, or not the problem, but what's happened in our society is that home is the misleading thing in this, because
This is
if
home.
if you're born in a kingdom and you're a heir to a kingdom and you're 6 years old and someone comes along and says, hey, do you want everything you could ever have in life? Come with me, away from your inheritance, which gives you those things already. Now, as soon as you cross that gate and start looking for home, you'll never find it
Because it's
because
not
you
about the,
because you left it.
yeah,
So the last place you're going to look is the place you left
that's a
to
good
start
point.
your journey to go look for all the things you could ever want.
That's a good
But you're
point.
born with them,
Mm-hmm. You're born with
right?
your gifts. It's all in your
you're born
heart.
you're born in your kingdom
Yeah.
already. So that's what has happened in our society is people have now said you have to go here. You have to look like her or him or them, and you have to have this and you have to have that. Otherwise, you fail, you suck, you're never going to feel good about yourself. And then, oh, take these pills and do these things and ta-da,
You're,
alchemy.
yeah, right.
Now you're just toxic avenger.
And you
Just
actually you're just wind up in this like perpetuating cycle. Whereas I'm not really into yoga, but I understand a lot of it, and I do a lot of breath work and mindfulness practices and
Mhm.
meditation. But I started hearing the term home actually in those communities because they referred to home as your heart space and coming back to yourself and coming back to that authentic expression
Mhm.
and coming and where we're all just walking each other, especially in like peer work like this and coaching work, is where does the empowerment? We're their
Yeah.
cheerleaders. We're like, hey, this is your home. How can we get you there? What can
We're
we
the people.
do?
We're the people who recognize royalty.
Yes, that's a
We're
good
the people
perspective.
who know who you are, and
Mm-hmm.
and so now imagine in that analogy, this kid is now 20 years old and he's been running around the world looking for his kingdom, for his everything, all the things that he ever wanted, and his inheritance. And then somebody comes along and says, "You're the prince. They've been looking for you.
Yep,
You need to go home."
that's what we
And
do.
then now what happens is that might happen at 20, it might happen at 28 again, it might happen at 35. One of those times, that prince has to believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he's gone that whole time without knowing that, it's going to be hard to believe and accept accountability. Because when you accept accountability for who you are and the agreements you make, you have to retroactively accept accountability for everything that got you to where you are. And that's the part people run from.
It's hard.
Because if
It's
it's your fault now, it
hard.
was your fault always,
Uh-huh.
right? And then
Taylor
you have,
Swift made a song about that. That she's the problem or something like that. It's me. I'm the problem. And it's
Mhm.
true. It's because it's that. It's kind of like sitting with your shadows, right? So I love doing shadow work. It's one of my favorite things to do, and that's where we. A great analogy would be: imagine going to the movies. We're going to the movies right now. We grab a thing of popcorn. We sit down at the movie screen. We're watching our life unfold. How do we not be immersed in that? Well, we sit there, we eat the popcorn like the bystander. We're watching the story. We're taking ourselves out of it. We're looking at it from an unbiased perspective. And through that, we're able to be like, oof, that one hurt. Let's get the better on that one. All right, all right, all right. We did good here. We did good here. Good work, team. Next time a similar situation comes up, I think I'm going to handle it like I handled it that one time. Not that one time I went, oof, and it gives yourself this new perspective, this new lens, and it gives you this new awareness of like, wow, I am the royalty, I am the magic, I've had it in me that whole time.
yeah,
But
you're
when
the
you
main
take yourself
character.
out, yeah, you realize you're the main character as soon as you step out of the lights camera action, right? As
Mhm.
soon as you step yourself out and now you're watching it unfold, you're like, oh wow,
Yeah, you
okay.
get to give yourself that autonomy to be the
Mm,
artistic creator in your own script.
uh,
Instead of just following the script, someone's like, "Here, this is who you are. This is how you're going to act. This is the box you go in. Don't get out of this box, or else." And you're like, "Okay, I'll stay in the box." And that's it. You read the script. You're acting out somebody else's narrative, but the whole time it's your movie. You're the producer. You got the whole budget. It's all you, and you can make it look however you want to make it look. So my job, my goal with this platform, with my voice, is to be that person that says, I know you. You're royalty. You're a prince. You need to go home.
I see you. I honor you. I
Yeah,
celebrate you.
yeah.
It's actually one of the most rewarding things I've done, some of this work. Even before, like, I just got my first office, but I've been of support for people,
Mhm.
just let's call it nonprofit, let's call it what it is, for years, mostly on social media. And through sharing my lived experience on social media, with more gore before I did my trainings, I will admit, I can't even tell you how many hundreds
There's a
of
little controversy.
people
There's a little controversy
people
in
have
your
reached
story.
out through the years saying thank you so, like, one of, like, I'm not gonna cry right now, but one of the ones that probably hit home the most is when I fled domestic violence. I shared my whole story. It was gory, it was messy. I didn't have the training yet. I didn't understand. Don't share the mess, just the message. I shared every detail, and I didn't realize that there are empaths in the world and sensitive people. How would they feel about receiving that information? And then I was hard on myself about that. But what made it all worth it was the maybe 20 messages from people on Instagram and my messages saying, thank you for sharing your story vulnerably. I didn't realize I was living in domestic violence. Thank you so much. I just left my toxic partner because of you. I didn't realize that pattern. Thank you. And that helped me realize, like, okay, I could learn from this. I could do better about how I share. I could do better of how I'm of support for people. But it's through the years of hearing people say that relatable moment, however it comes out of their
Yeah.
mouth, is like, "Oh, I've been there too," or "Thanks for bringing awareness," or "Thanks for seeing my worth." A lot of the times, I love to kind of do what you're doing. I see the royalty. I want to shake them. I want to be like, "Why can't you see your light? Why can't you see your truth?" And a lot of times I'll come into their life and I might be a little bit of intense medicine with my words. And I'll come in and a few years later, I'll see them on social media doing what we talked about.
Yeah.
And that's that humble feeling inside of me where my ego doesn't need to be like, oh, yeah, we did this. Nope. I can just look at it and be like, fuck, yeah, they did it. Because they
Exactly.
did it. We're not no healers. We are just
Man, I
channels.
say it all the
We're
time. I say
conduits.
it all the time.
We're here to empower.
Good friend of mine just finished through a whole drug court journey, and I remember partway through that journey there was a discussion around, like, her identifying as the experience, and then I just ran her through a series of questions like, who showed up to all the meetings, who didn't get in trouble, who went to work even though they didn't like where they worked, like, who's there for their kid, da da da, like, you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say you're like powerless to something, or you're not able to do something, but your actual narrative is that you're doing it, that's the insidious, diabolical, like, other people's narratives,
Mm-hmm.
and people trying to have you accept some garbage as your identity, when it's just like, no, you just walk through a landfill. It doesn't make you garbage.
Yeah.
You just walk through it.
You got
You're
some
still,
scars and bruises from
yeah,
it.
you're still you. And that's what you get to work on, and you get to manifest to the best of whatever it looks like. And it's your choice what that looks like.
Because you got free will. And most people forget they have free will, which is such, from on my journey when that one came to me, that free will, and I was like, whoa, I have free will to speak my truth. I have free will to get help. I have free will to ask for support. I also have free will to go on a rage ceremony if I want to let loose. I have free will to be of support. I have free will to show kindness.
Yeah, exactly. And so, well, we're nearing the end. Normally, who was the
Quote.
quote from?
So we're all just walking each other home is from Ram Dass, and he is a really inspirational person in, I guess you could say, like the spiritual and enlightenment and wellness communities.
Is he more like a Eastern philosopher,
I believe so,
like a
yeah.
like a Krishnamurti, or Gandhi, or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
along those?
along those lines, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right, I'll do some research. Also, we have, normally we'll do like a shout out to a philanthropy. I'm actually going to give a shout out to the nonprofit Arms Around You, who recently reached out to me for some certified peer support, counseling, support with training some people, and then I got to dive into the org and what it did, and scoured their website, and I'm just thoroughly a joy of having an organization of that caliber like want me to connect, and just the fact that they're doing it and not just saying they're doing it. So yeah, big shout out to Arms Around You, armsaroundyou.org, I believe it is, if you're not familiar. Just check them out. Look at their site. Maybe donate something towards the cause.
What do they do?
They are kind of a reentry base, justice impacted, helping people that are coming home from the physical prison,
Oh,
hopefully get to that first level of freedom while also helping them navigate the various barriers for people in
y'all
reentry.
have my support. That's actually one of the things I studied in school, and one of my favorite professors actually taught the rehabilitation program, reentry program, and West Virginia State Penitentiary. And I was fascinated by the work that people are doing. But fun fact, actually, speaking on behalf of that, emotional intelligence is a program that is taught in Washington, one of the Washington prisons. And when I learned
Oh,
about that, I was like, now we're talking about real change here.
yeah.
Get into that environment and start talking about emotional intelligence so that when those people are re-entering into society, they don't have to feel the shame and the guilt. They don't have to feel like they are never equal
Mm,
to anybody else because they have been given the opportunity and the skills to be like everybody else, to have that same access.
I like that.
I really love what that program's doing. I really support that. I have to go check them out.
Yeah, I'm all about helping in situations like that. Anywhere where I could get a certified facilitators, and as long as I agree with the content that's
Mm-hmm.
going out. But one of the other things we do, I think we would have done it earlier, maybe, and this is something, if you get the job, we can go over. So Joshua Smith is a close friend of mine, also my mentor in becoming a CPC trainer. Him and his buddy Jordan Davis wrote this book, Keep Effing Going. Every
Ooh,
episode we read the next day. It's 365 days of positive quotes and different aspirations and affirmations throughout.
I
You
love the
grab
title.
that and go to day 26. I'll read the first half and you can read the action item. Does that work for you?
That works for me.
All right, day 26. Keep pushing. Look, success ain't easy. It takes hard work, dedication, and most of all, perseverance. No matter what obstacles come your way, you got to keep pushing forward. Take a small step towards your goal every day, and soon enough, you'll be running towards it. That's how you make your dreams a reality.
I got chills. That was good. Action item. Today, find one thing you can do to get closer to your goal. No matter how small, keep pushing yourself every day and don't let anything hold you back.
Shout out Joshua Smith and Jordan Davis. And then lastly, we have these cards. You can do the honors and go first. It's one card that represents each of the four agreements.
Ooh.
You
Do I
read
pull
one,
both?
I read one, you read one,
I
I
like
read,
it. Let go of self judgment and blame. Be impeccable to your word. Well, this is one of my favorite ones from the book. Being impeccable, you take responsibility for your actions, but you do not judge or blame yourself for anything.
Always do your best. Always do your best, but don't overdo it. When you overdo, you deplete your body and go against yourself, and it will take you longer to accomplish your goal.
Kind of like that overflowing cup
Yeah,
before from earlier.
it's balance,
Yeah.
moderation.
Don't make assumptions. Communicate with clarity. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings, sadness, and drama. If all humans would communicate with impeccability of the word, all of our relationships would change. There would be no wars, no violence, no misunderstandings. If that ain't true.
Don't take anything personally. When you see other people as they are without taking it personally, you can never be hurt by what they say or do. Even if others lie to you, it is okay. They are lying to you because they are afraid you will discover that they are not perfect. Kind of talked about it earlier in the episode. When you get to that, when you step into that first deep level of freedom, you start to see people in their nature. And when you look at a thing doing what in its nature, It doesn't offend you because that's what's in its nature. Nature is beautiful, right? If you are walking in tall grass and you know there's snakes there and you know some of them bite and you walk through that glass wearing flip flops and then you get bit on your foot, the first thing you would likely think is, damn, I should have wore boots. You're not even mad at the snake like that because you know that's the snake doing what's in the snake's nature and you're walking through there without taking care of self. The force field of self is one of these four agreements. Don't take anything personally. That's the first real step when it comes to pursuing your own internal evolution and freedom. That being said, we're going to wrap up this particular audition. We actually had decided that we would do two. So, next episode, I think we're going to get into a little bit more personal stuff with you. That way that you can get to know Amanda uh, as not just a co host to a pie talk or a podcast, but we're going to get to know her for who she is. Like we know me and we know Priscilla, right? We share, we are vulnerable, and we care. And that's really the only way this type of podcast that I do, for me personally, it can't work any other way. It can't be like a job. It can't be oh, I got to do that thing because I committed to it. It's like you got to live in this energy already anyway. And then getting to share it has to be like, I get to do, not I have to do. And that's what I feel every time. I get to do Pi Talk podcast and share my philosophies and my currency and my energies and different ways. And then the comments, all of you that follow, like, and subscribe, help me learn even more. So
You said it really well just now. You get to versus got. If you could
I
repeat
get
that.
to, I don't have to.
Exactly. Lately, I've been really sitting with that quote and rephrasing my own language because that's like I kind of we could talk about that more in the next podcast about neuroplasticity and rewiring your right and left side of your brain through your language. And
Mm,
you just did it really, really, really well as a great example to end with is start changing your words to you get to do things, not you got to do things, because that brings that richness into life, right? That brings that freedom. If you have to do it, you're in your own prison.
yeah,
If you
yeah.
get to do it, you're free.
So I guess I'll just end on this note.